041 to 045, synopses, no illustrations. Clips 031 to 053 are concerned with the MLA approach to teaching different subject areas. Clips 041 to 045 are as follows. 041 teaching geometry, 042 teaching history social science, 043 teaching multiplication table, 044 teaching music, 045 teaching nature study. For your information, some of the remaining clips regarding teaching other subject areas are 046 teaching reading, 047 teaching science, 048 teaching storytelling, 049 teaching visual media folks arts 1, 050 teaching visual media folks arts 2, 051 teaching origami paper cutting, 052 teaching media arts painting, 053 teaching working with colour, 041 teaching geometry. As children possess an innate feeling for form and symmetry, they should not start learning geometry by learning proofs and theorems. The first task is to awaken the feeling for form rather than ask children to copy particular shapes. This is achieved through the subject of form drawing as described elsewhere, but a brief outline of what is taught in different grades follows. In grade 1, form drawing is taught so as to provide the basis for a number of subject areas including geometry and handwriting. In grade 2, this is taken a stage further and drawing of more complicated forms occur. These are not dependent on perceptible objects but on the form creating qualities of children. This free artistic form continues in grade 3. It lays the basis for the study of geometrical forms such as the circle, the triangle, the square and so on, which will occur in grade 4 and later. The second phase begins around the age of 9 and the first teaching of formal geometry begins. In grade 4, children are introduced to the construction of simple geometrical figures and are taught to grasp the interrelationships between the forms. It is only in the third phase that they are fully involved in geometrical proofs. In so doing, subject areas such as simple projection and shaded drawing become completely independent and are taught in the drawing and painting lessons. In grade 6, children learn simple proofs and the relationship between forms, first by accurately drawing simple geometrical figures and then observing and making the necessary calculations for such proofs. From the age of 12, integration of related subject areas occurs. For example, the relationships of arithmetic to geometry and algebra to geometry are taught. 042 teaching history, social science. Today, one of the main problems is the continual struggle to balance cultural with technological growth. The study of history can give us many clues to the types of solutions we should be seeking. Therefore, it is sad to see that many young people have only a limited sense of history. The whole idea behind the teaching of history should be to communicate a grasp of and a feeling for human development as a whole. Although single dates and events are of relevance, it is of far greater importance for students to obtain a feeling for all the quite different types of societies that have existed throughout history. How should this occur? In the first place, they need to fully appreciate that each one of us is part of the historical process. Our present development and ideas are intimately connected with the past. The present is the result of the past and the future will be the result of the present, and each student is part of that development. The process starts by relating local history to children's immediate experience. Next, the history of man is examined, starting with the ancient civilizations and epochs. Hopefully, if children obtain insights into how their heritage influences their own culture, they will be able to evaluate and obtain a perspective of happenings in their own lives and also of the society in which they live. They need to recognize that history describes the rise and development of different impulses expressed in quite different ways in different epochs. Descriptions are given of the subject matter in each grade. 043 teaching multiplication tables. It is more important for students to understand what they are doing than to learn how to solve problems or to compute without such understanding. Thus, the approach we recommend concerns itself initially with the inner life of the student. After involving the inner child, the approach moves gradually to the student's contact with the outer world. Since elementary school children live very much in the world of feeling, the process starts in the affective realm, moves to action and the world of concrete experience, and only then to concept. One only has to observe young elementary school children to see that they are imaginative and active. These two attributes are used as the cornerstone of the approach. On the one hand, the imagination is stimulated. This is achieved through a variety of creative and artistic formats. On the other hand, a number of activities, especially those containing rhythms, are introduced. Through this process, understanding occurs which is meaningful and permanent. The imagination. Storytelling is used extensively to stimulate the imagination and to relate to the student's inner life and experience. From this beginning, the student is led gently towards symbolic representation and the grasp of concepts. It is an effective method of teaching to both left and right-hand brain to encourage both intuitive and linear thinking. Rhythmic action. Younger elementary school children generally respond immediately and spontaneously to rhythm. Rhythm is a natural part of their world. It is a very natural step, therefore, to use rhythm in the early teaching of multiplication. The 4 stages through which teaching occurs are described in detail. 044 Teaching music. Music education is crucial for children's all-round development. Detailed descriptions are given of the 2 countries, Finland and Venezuela, where there is outstanding music education. For example, in both countries, music is regarded not only as essential for personal development, but also for cultural and civic sustenance. In Finland, many children learn to read music before they learn to read words. In Venezuela, detailed descriptions of how the system, or el sistema as it is called in Venezuela, functions. For example, it provides an instrument of music education for any child between 2 and 18, with 250,000 children spending 6 afternoons a week from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. intensively studying classical music. There are 200 youth orchestras and 246 centres known as nucleos nationwide. Supported by the government, the system has started to introduce its music programme to the public school curriculum, aiming within 5 years to be in every school and to double its enrolment to 500,000 children. As Sir Simon Rattle, the principal conductor of the Berlin Philharmonic, observes, El Sistema is the most important thing happening in classical music anywhere in the world. Descriptions are given of what is taught in each grade. Gradually, but far too slowly for the many children in countries like the USA and UK, we are realizing that music and art are crucial for children's well-being and learning. Countries such as Venezuela and Finland are showing that these subjects are not only crucial for balanced neurological development, but of enormous benefit to society. 045 Teaching Nature Study. Natural history and nature study is the 3rd subject area, with history and geography, which is a natural follow-on from home surroundings, also environmental studies. Natural study should always begin with a study of man himself, so children obtain a feeling for the way in which the 3 kingdoms of nature are united. Man thus represents a synthesis at a higher level. Descriptions are given of what is taught in each grade. For example, in grades 4 and 5, children are introduced to the plant and animal worlds through the same type of methodology of teaching as described above. The world of minerals is introduced in class 5 and a more formal study is made in class 6. Connections are made with other subject areas including physics and geography. In grade 6, the study of nature is continued, although in a more specialized form. The study of mineralogy becomes part of the geography lessons and physics is introduced. In grade 7, the specialized study of botany and physics is continued and chemistry is introduced. In class 8, botany, physics and chemistry are all studied as separate subjects. From their study, children begin to realize their relationships and responsibility to the other kingdoms. In class 7, nutrition and hygiene are studied in botany. Other specialized areas are studied in physics and chemistry. Although each science subject is studied as a separate entity, one of the main tasks is to indicate their interrelatedness. In classes 8, 9 and 10, other specialised areas are studied, although wherever possible children are shown how different parts of their own nature are connected.